Hi everyone, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com, and today I am here to show you how to make this beautiful tote, which in honor of Valentine's Day I have named the Follow Your Heart Tote. And you'll notice the scallop pockets here are reminiscent of a heart. There is some quilting in this bag as well. I have quilted like a heart shape on the back. You may not be able to see that in this lighting, but I will try and capture some pictures of that top stitching so you can see how gorgeous that is. This bag is reversible. There are two wide scallop pockets on the front exterior and then on the interior as well. The side ties here draw in the sides to give the bag that angle. They are completely optional. If you wanted just to have a larger tote, you could untie those and or omit them if you don't have a function for those. You may want to consider adding them between the handles as a tie closure. As long as you use the ties versus a snap closure, then the bag is reversible as mentioned. So it's a really nice size, perfect for everyday use. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can customize the handles to better fit your body. But before we get started crafting this bag, I have a couple of announcements for you. If you haven't heard, I'm creating design boards for every tutorial in 2021, and I have opened an Etsy pattern shop. So I'm going to put the link down below so you can purchase these design boards, which include the pattern measurements and very concise written instructions. And then you can save and collect those throughout the year. And so then when you are looking for a project, you have a reference library essentially with all of the measurements and instructions. So I'm really happy that I have carved out the time and I am now able to create those for you. That is something I have wanted to do for a very long time. And then I also wanted to give you a peek at my second all aboard bag. This one I designed specifically to be used as a camera bag for my DSLR, and it really is the perfect size for a camera bag. I incorporated the flex foam in the base of this, and so I feel really good about the ability for this bag to keep the camera nice and safe. And there's plenty of room, if I did have the 300mm lens on there, that I could still fit the camera inside of the bag. I really love this side zipper accent. And then there is a front pocket here which I could put my memory cards and charger and things like that, the battery, extra battery, what have you. So it's a great comfy design, and I am teaching this right now in my masterclass AMC 8. It just kicked off. It's not too late for you to join us. This is something that I offer exclusively to Sewspire patrons. You can participate for $10 a month, even less if you subscribe for the whole year. So if you're interested in participating and learning how to make the all aboard bag, in addition to all of the other AMCs to date, you can gain all that information immediately by becoming a Sewspire patron. It truly is a fabulous deal, but beyond that, we have a lot of fun and we learn so much. And we are forming absolutely beautiful friendships with like-minded creative hearts. So that is just something I wanted to remind you about. It's a really unique opportunity and we'd love to have you join us. And now without further ado, let's get started sewing this gorgeous bag. So we're gonna begin by crafting the heart-shaped pockets for this. And there is a pocket on the inside and a pocket on the outside, and they are crafted in the exact same way. So what I did is for each pocket, I cut 2 pocket panels which measure 18 inches wide by 14 inches tall, and then I folded those in half and just angled the top of that in a heart shape so that it ends up like this. You don't want to do too much of a V in the center there because it'll be difficult to get that to lay nice. So just a very wide, even heart shape across the top is absolutely perfect. And so one of those will become the lining for the pocket, and then one of those will become the exterior. And so for the exterior of each pocket, I back that with some quilt batting, and then I came in and just did some random top stitching there. You could probably see it a little better on the back here, just to accentuate those stitches and secure that batting in place. And so then what you're going to want to do next is position that quilted heart pocket right sides facing with the pocket lining, and go ahead and stitch across the top of the heart. And 3/8 of an inch seam allowance is ideal for this because we are going to clip those corners and around the little angle of the heart there so that it lays nice. And so that's what that looks like. Again, I just stitched right across the top of that heart. And so now I want to come in and just notch with a pair of scissors all the way around that angle. And I'm spacing those approximately 1/4 inch, and I'm coming in about 1/4 inch from that stitch line. And this will just allow us to maintain the integrity of that scallop at the top there, because we're going to turn this around and then press. And so it makes the fabric lay really nice. And then once you get all of your little notches in there, go ahead and turn that pocket right side out and get the lining fabric all the way to the back side of that. And then you're going to give it a really nice press, and the back side, the lining fabric should cling nicely to that batting. And then after you press and smooth, it should definitely look like a heart on the top there. And I angled my quilt lines there to give more of that heart shape. These bottom corners here are going to get notched out. So as the bag comes together, this does start to look more like a heart. But you can add additional detailing with that top stitching, so do keep that in mind. And then the other thing that I did was press in a center line, because we're going to divide this pocket in half to create 2 really nice deep pockets on this. So the next thing we want to do is just top stitch along this scallop at the top of the pocket. That's what it looks like after the top stitching goes in. And then the body panels for this bag are 18 by 18, and they are also back with quilt batting. And for the front exterior panel, I added some more top stitching or quilting there on the top 1/3 of that, because the pocket is going to hide the rest of that, so that I don't really need to quilt in there because nobody's going to see that. But I did feel with the pocket being quilted that it would look odd if I did not quilt the top of that. So again, just really random lines of quilting there that when I look at this kind of, you know, symbolize to me love and life, because there's all these different intersections, right, where love impacts our lives. So I really like that, and I would encourage you to just have fun with the quilting for this project. So the next step here is to position the quilted pocket on top of this partially quilted panel, and you're going to be aligning the base of that pocket with the base of the panel, and the lowest part of my scallop there on the heart is approximately 2, 4, 6, 8 inches from the top of that panel, if that gives you a little better idea of the proportions there, or the depth of my scallop. And so now what I want to do is stitch right down the center of that heart to divide this pocket. And I am going to back stitch a couple times at the top, because that'll definitely become a stress point. This is really pretty with this quilting on there. I hope that you can see that, how that's all coming together. It's very nice. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is just lift up the quilted portion of this pocket, and I want to stitch approximately 2.5 to 3 inches up. I just want to stitch a vertical line there, and what that is going to do is keep the contents of my pocket from falling down into the base of the bag. So I'm just gonna pull that quilted portion of that fabric back, and this doesn't have to be precise. No one's going to be able to see it, so I just back the foot in up pretty close to that stitch line where I divided the pocket. And that's what that looks like. I just created the base of the pocket there. And I want to repeat that on the other side. So just peel back that quilted layer and then stitch approximately 2.5 inches from the base. And if you want, you can stitch one long vertical line before you divide your pocket. That's what I did for the interior, which is crafted in the exact same way. But if you happen to forget, this is another option. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. No one's ever gonna see it. All it does is just keep the contents of the pocket from slipping into the base of the bag there. And so now this front panel is ready for me to position the rear panel, which I have quilted a heart on since there are no pockets, and I just laid that heart-shaped pocket on top of there and then quilted around it, and I thought that that would add some fun accent to that rear panel, which doesn't have any pockets on it. And so I'm going to take that panel, which is also 18 by 18, and position it right sides facing on top of the panel that has the pockets. And I want to notch out 2-inch squares from the bottom left and right hand corners of this bag sandwich here. And so I have the little corners that I notched out from the interior, which again is crafted in the exact same way. Technically this bag could be reversible, so keep that in mind when you're choosing your fabric selections. And so I like to keep those corners consistent so that the interior and the exterior fit nice. And so I just am going to use that same 2-inch corner as my template here, and that's quite a few layers there with all that quilting on the pockets. And this corner here that we're notching out is what's going to give the bag its depth. Okay, so that is what the panels look like after I notch out the corners. So now I want to use 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and stitch down the left and the right hand sides and across the base. I am going to leave these notches open for the time being. So I've stitched the left and the right hand sides and across the base. Now I want to trim up all that excess fabric from that seam approximately a 1/4 inch from the stitch line. And in case you're wondering, the reason you don't just sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance is because with all of these layers, it is very challenging to capture all of those layers in a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this ends up giving you a lot more security in knowing that you did in fact come in far enough to get the pockets and all of the batting. And then the reason that you trim it up is because it is so many layers that your machine may struggle getting through those seams. So here's what I have now. Now I want to reach inside of this bag and align that side seam with that base seam. And then I'm going to stitch across there using the same 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and that is going to create the depth. And you repeat that for the opposite side. And then you can go ahead and trim up the excess from those side seams as well. And then you're going to turn that exterior right sides out, poke out those corners well, and fold that top edge inward about a 1/2 inch. I absolutely love this gorgeous fabric. It is so perfect for a Valentine's Day inspired bag. Pretty. And the back, the quilting definitely looks like a heart there. And soon these pockets will take more of a heart shape as well when we finish the top edge of this. I have a little idea how we can get that to pull in a bit, but overall I really like the look of the scallop shaped pocket there. And so I'm just going to fold this top edge over approximately a 1/2 inch and clip that in place. I usually clip the side seams first, and then I can pull on those sides, and the front and the back fabric will fold over nicely for me. You can also press that down if you like. Here's what the exterior looks like. So you're going to duplicate that process for your interior. And I have mine right here. I selected this coordinating teacup and roses print, and I have my scalloped heart-shaped pocket in there on the other side. And so now what I want to do is fit this interior inside of the exterior, and I want the interior pockets to fall on the rear wall of the bag so that I have an equal weight distribution there. So we have the exterior with the front pockets, and then the interior pockets are along that rear wall. The interior is also lined with the quilt batting. I personally like to work with the warm and natural quilt batting, but if you have a favorite batting, go ahead and use whatever you like and your machine likes. And then once I get that interior in there, I align the side seams first and then move along the front and rear, and I just again pull at those sides and everything should line up nicely for you. This is a really nice size bag. It's not so big that you couldn't use it every day, but it's nice and deep so you can overstuff. And again, I really like the scallop on the pocket. It looks absolutely gorgeous on the side. But as promised, we're going to offer this bag a little bit more interest and shape by crafting some side ties, which you will then be able to draw the side inward and really accentuate that scallop on the pocket. And so my side ties measure 3 inches wide by 18 inches long, and there are 2 of them, and I craft this just like I craft my straps, except I'm going to fold one of the short edges inward 1/2 inch and press so that I can end up with a nice finished edge on that tie. So first I press the short edge, then I press everything in half long ways. Then I open that up, bring those raw edges inward to meet on that center press line, press again, fold that over one more time to form the strap. And then for these ties here, I'm going to stitch across the short edge, down the open edge, and then add one more row of stitching on that opposite side. Okay, so you're going to craft 2 of those ties, and the ties are going to be positioned just off of the side seam there. I don't suggest that you put them right in the side seam because there's already a lot happening there with all of the layers. So I would stagger one just slightly to the left of the side seam, and then on the opposite side, when you put that to the left of the side seam, it will actually be kitty corner to the first one. So one is closer to the front and one is closer to the back. And again, that's just going to give you a nice even distribution when you pull those in to tie them. If you have a super duper heavy machine that you think can handle that centered on the seam, go for it. That would be optimal, but I have my doubts. I even have a pretty heavy duty machine here, and I have my doubts that it would make it through that. So I'm just going to stagger it. And now the next thing we need to do is craft the handles. So for this bag, I wanted very short handles because I'm either going to carry it in hand or in the crook of my elbow. But if you like to carry your bag over the shoulder, then you're definitely going to want to extend the length of these handles. So mine measure 20 inches long by 5 inches wide. That's slightly smaller than I normally craft the straps. I felt that this bag is so feminine that a little bit narrow strap would really suit it well. So The strap on this does have a 2.5-inch strip of batting in that center channel. And so we're going to craft it the same way that we just did the little side ties, except we're not going to worry about folding the short edges over. So in half and press, open that up and bring those outer edges inward to meet on the center press line. Then I open and insert the batting, press again, and fold that over. One more time, give it a good press. And I have a nice strap here that has 2 layers of batting and 4 layers of fabric. It's a very comfy and durable strap. And so I'm going to stitch down the open edge first, and then the opposite edge, and then right down the center to finish this strap. And then I give the strap one more good steam press before positioning that in between the exterior and the interior layers on the front and rear of the bag. And so for this bag here, because these handles are very short, I think that I'm going to try coming in 4 inches from each side. So 4 inches from that side seam. And when I'm positioning the handles, I prefer to use the pins so that they do not shift. And this is looking really good. And I'm just tucking about 1 inch of that handle down in between those layers. And then I'm going to turn that over to the opposite side here. And you can measure as well as use the existing strap, which is already in place, to gauge the positioning on that. The big thing now is that you want to make sure that the straps are about the same height, right? You don't want one longer than the other, especially with a short strap like this. Oh, I just think this bag is so beautiful. Okay, so here's what it looks like so far. So now the next step is to put this up on the machine deck and sew all the way around the perimeter of this. I am going to reinforce those side ties and reinforce those handles with some back stitching. You also have the option of coming back in and just adding a second row of stitching, especially if you think that you might really load this bag up. So just go nice and slow. I like to begin at one of the side ties. I just align the right hand side of my sewing foot with the top edge of the bag, and that should net me like about 1/4 inch there along the top. And just go nice and slow, take your time, and again, make sure you reinforce. Okay, so I've made it all the way around. I am madly in love with this bag. It turned out so much better than even I could have imagined. This is just stunning. I'm sure some of it is, part this just beautiful blue floral fabric is so perfect for Valentine's Day. But then the scallop on this pocket is just stunning as well, and the quilting. And I know it's probably difficult for you to see. I'll try and capture it with my good camera. But the stitching that I put in for the heart on the back is really such a lovely, subtle detail there. Oh, I just really, really like this bag, and I'm so pleased that I could share this design with you. So the way the side ties function, as you can see there, is it draws in those side panels, and I just loosely knotted them. You can play with that, and you know, the closer you bring them together, the more definition you'll have there in the top, and have fun with it. You can also, if you have a lot of contents, just leave them untied. But it really is such a pretty bag. So before we say goodbye, let me just give you the measurements on this gorgeous Follow Your Heart tote. It's approximately 13.5 inches tall, and across the base there is 13 inches, and then the depth on that is 4 inches. And these short handles have an 8-inch drop. You do have some room there with these large panels that you could definitely make the bag deeper if you like. And as mentioned, increase the length of the handles if you need a little bit more room here on the shoulder. Typically with large bags like this, I really do find it more comfortable and practical to just carry it in hand or right on the elbow, and in that case the short straps are certainly functional for that. I did want to show you the inside of this bag as well. I don't think that I got to show you how great that turned out. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna turn it around for you so you can see this pretty fabric and the scallop pockets on the inside there. There we go. That's equally as fun. The fabric there, just a little bit more whimsical. And I feel like if you wanted to create a totally different look, you could fold over the tops of those scallops and either install a little snap or stitch those down. So that's just another design variation for you with this gorgeous bag. And I think it adds even more functionality that you can reverse this. So I'd love to hear what you think about the project. If you will, just please leave me a comment and let me know if you're going to make one for yourself or you're going to make one as a Valentine's gift for someone else. And then just as a reminder, I will have the link for the design board. If you would like to purchase that, then you can collect those as we go. For every tutorial in 2021 and beyond, I will now be creating these design boards. I've opened an Etsy pattern shop so that you can get those via instant download. So I'm excited about that. Next week, we are going to be making the Try-Mazing wallet. Some of you may remember that that is the project that we did in my last masterclass, AMC 7. It was a collaborative design, and we created a very detailed step-by-step PDF tutorial. It really is a fun project, and I'm so proud of the ladies of AMC 7. We worked on that for several weeks, and it really is a terrific design. So hope to see you next week when we're going to sew the Try-Mazing wallet. Until then, as always, please know the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Thank you so much for sewing with me.